Usually when people get better at something, they increase. They go bigger and better. They do more of the thing they become better at. For me, this year, I'm doing the opposite. I'm actually going to be decreasing the amount of seeds I start this season. And I'll get more into that later. First, I am going to create my seed starting mix. So in that container, I have 3 parts of coconut coir already broken up. And I've taken that from a big block that I'll link below if anyone's interested in getting into starting their own seed starting mix. I find it so much cheaper to do. And here I have some vermiculite, and I am mixing 1 part vermiculite into this container. And I am following up with 1 part of worm castings next. And I was actually going to buy a tiny bag of seed starting mix because I didn't need a lot, because I usually make a huge cart full just because I buy a big block of coconut coir and it makes so much. But I went to the store and the seed starting mix I usually buy increased by like, I think about $2 or $3, and I told myself I was not gonna spend that. I'm a cheapskate. I was like, oh, I'll just go home and I'll just make my own. I'll just go make my own. So I just bought more worm castings. I already had the vermiculite. I already had the coconut coir. So here we are, mixing our lovely seed starting mix. All that goodness. And it is cheaper to make your own. So I'll list the ingredients the way I do it in the description. Again, I'll pop it up on the screen. It's 3 parts coconut coir, 1 part vermiculite, and 1 part worm castings. And you mix it all up and you add some water in there until the consistency is to your liking. And you pretty much want it to be moist for your seedlings. And next, I'm just gonna get these trays filled up so we can get these seeds started. The first seeds we have going in are my petunias. I'm very excited about this because I finally remembered to start my petunias early enough. I always forget that I need to start them weeks ahead of time. And I love planting a lot of petunias because they act as a pest deterrent just like marigolds. And I can never find marigolds in those pink and purple colors. I've seen marigold seeds in pink, but I can never get my hands on them. So I try to grow a lot of petunias because they act in the same way. So petunias repel those hornworms, the leaf hoppers, and aphids, as well as some other pests that can do damage to your tomatoes. So I try to seed a lot of those. So I'm just gonna sprinkle the seeds in these trays, and this entire tray will be filled with petunias, I hope. And I'll just sprinkle soil right on top. Again, I'm just sprinkling the seeds right on the surface, and then I will add some soil on top to cover the seeds. They were very tiny, so I found this method much easier than poking holes in the trays. And as I finish completing that, I'll show you some of the petunias that I love to grow. This one is called the Moon and Stars. It is so absolutely gorgeous. And here's an example of how I put petunias everywhere. You see in the left corner, I have petunias growing in the garden. I try to place them in as many places as I can because, again, they act as a pest deterrent, and I find them to be just a bit prettier than those marigolds. For our tomatoes, I will be seeding some varieties that you are probably familiar with, such as some cherry tomatoes, Homestead, and Golden Nugget. But I'm also doing some other ones that you might not be familiar with, but you might be. So this one is a micro dwarf tomato called Ink Spot. And it ripens to this pretty like red black color, and it has like this dark taste to it. I love growing it. And this one is called Red Robin, and it is also a micro dwarf tomato. And I love growing these because they grow into a shape of a bonsai tree, kind of like like that shape. And they only get 12 inches, about like 10 to 12 inches tall. Perfect for those that grow in containers or have small gardens. And here are some dwarf tomatoes that I grew last year or the year before. I can't quite remember when I grew them, but they're my absolute favorite to grow. I will make sure that I link them if you want to grow those this season in your gardens. And here are the last varieties that we are planting of tomatoes. We have pineapple tomato. We have this lovely dwarf peppermint stripes. I love the color, gorgeous. I have grown that one before. This one is new to me this season. It's the yellow accordion tomato. I love the shape. I'm super excited about that. And this last one that we are growing is called Black Beauty tomato. And I have grown this one before. I love the color again on this one, and the darker tomatoes have that rich taste to them. Here is a clip of that color. Oh my goodness, it's so gorgeous. And as I wrap up those tomatoes, again, I will link each one below if I can find the listing, because all of these I did buy like last year, so I might not be able to find the links. If I can't, I do apologize in advance. Our peppers tend to do better than our tomatoes, and the pests don't touch our peppers compared to our tomatoes. They don't touch them as much. And I noticed that I can plant less pepper plants and get more fruit off of one plant. So I am starting less peppers compared to tomatoes this year. So I'm only going with 4 varieties, and those are the grand bell peppers, this mixed color pack, which is really pretty. I love the colors. We also did a jalapeno pepper. We have an ancho poblano pepper here. I seeded a Tennessee cheese pepper, and I did some Chinese 5-colored pepper, another one with some stunning colors. I am loving the color choices this season of the peppers and the tomatoes. Makes me very excited to see this season's harvest, the summer harvest. Oh, my heart is going to be singing. And if you're missing the warmth, here is one of my favorite summer garden harvests from last year. Oh my goodness, the tomatoes were lovely. The peppers were so fruitful. Here is the video you want to watch next if you are anxious for your garden harvest. Thank you so much for watching, and happy growing.